Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. Welcome back to Geek Reads. uh, I need more sleep. Welcome back to Geek Reads. Today I want to discuss Summer Night by Jim Butcher, an image of which you will see here. Is the fourth book in the Dresden Files series. And warning, there will be some spoilers for the events of the previous book because it is somewhat important to the storyline in this one. At the end of the final book, previous book, Grave Peril, Dresden's lover Susan had crashed a vampire party, and getting in there without an invite means she was not protected under the Accords, so she was bitten. She is not fully turned. According to the rules, the vampire rules in the Dresden Files, vampires of the Red Court are only fully turned once they've fed on their first victim. So as long as she doesn't bite anyone, she's still technically human, but she does have the uncraveable thirst for human blood. So Dresden, in retaliation for her being bitten, basically killed Bianca, the headmistress of the local seethe or coven, whatever you want to call it, and burned her house to the ground. Because of that, Harry was at this party as a representative of the White Council, the Wizards Council. So because of that, the entire Vampire Red Court has taken offense and declared war on the Wizards Council. That's a primary element of this book. This book takes place approximately 9 months after Grave Peril. I can't remember if I mentioned this previously, but one of the things I do like about Dresden Files is that they take place in quote-unquote real time, in that in the time it takes Jim Butcher to write the novel, like if it took him 9 months to get this book written, so 9 months have passed. That's true for all of the books. If it takes him 2 years to publish a book, then 2 years will have passed for Harry Dresden. So I do enjoy that. That's one of the aspects of his books I do enjoy, is that he accounts for time passing and he makes it match the time between books. So it's kind of an interesting little tidbit I may wind up mentioning again in the future if I forget, or if a significant amount of time has passed between books. Anywho, Dresden has spent the previous 9 months trying to find a way to reverse the vampire curse. It's basically like an act of God kind of thing. You know, the amount of power you would need to undo that is almost impossible to conceive. But he's trying to find a way nonetheless. There is no known way of doing it, but, you know, that's kind of, he'd need a miracle. But he's been spending the previous 9 months like ignoring everything, he's taking no jobs, he's earning no money. He's not taking care of himself, he's not bathing, he's barely eating. He's devoting almost all of his free time to trying to find a cure for Susan's vampirism. Almost all his free time. He does still get pulled into things, which is what he's doing in the start of the book. It's raining toads in Chicago. So we get to be reintroduced to Billy the Werewolf, character from the book's Full Moon, the college-age kids who had learned to turn themselves into wolves magically. They're not like quote-unquote werewolves like we would understand. It's explained in Full Moon that there were different types of werewolves. Billy and his pack, basically it's like they know one spell, become a wolf, and turn back to human. It's like they know a single spell, that's it. They're not susceptible to the moon or silver. They don't heal magically, you know. They're just basically ordinary people, ordinary wolves, kind of deal. But Billy and his pack have been kind of taking up Harry's slack a little bit, you know, investigating things because they do have special powers, you know. And Billy kind of Billy's like the head werewolf. He's like the head of the group. Kind of drags Harry out to investigate. He also tells Harry that I went to your office, found out you had a client interview, and set you up to meet this client. And, you know, so on and so forth. Someone has killed the Summer Night, the title of the book. This book introduced us to the fairy courts. There is the winter and summer courts. Um, the she, it's spelled, I think it's spelled Shea, but I think it's pronounced she. It's an old um, Irish or Welsh term for the fairy, for the fae. So we are introduced to both the summer and winter courts. Um, the courts are organized, there are the various queens of the courts. Each court has a knight, the winter knight, the summer knight. Someone has killed the summer knight and blamed the winter court, which will lead to war between the two courts of summer and winter fairy, which could have drastic consequences for the earth, the normal world, depending on who wins. If the winter court wins, a new ice age. The summer court wins, it could be rampant growth of things, which you might think is good, but if everything green suddenly started to rapidly grow to the point where we couldn't control it, it would destroy civilization just as well as an ice age. If a tree sprouted up in your living room overnight, it would destroy my house. That kind of thing happening. So, and the war with the White Council and the Red Courts has also been pulled into this. It's become a condition. So this is, I'm not sure. I mentioned earlier on in the first review that one of the things I liked about the Dresden Files initially was that they were kind of noir murder mysteries. This is still a murder mystery. It's not quite as noir as as like Stormfront and Full Moon were. I think we're kind of, with the influx of the White Council, Wizards Council, we're starting to drift away from the murder mystery stuff into other aspects, more wizardly aspects of it. And I think this book kind of represents the transition. We're still doing murder mysteries, but the war with the vampire courts, the White Council stuff, Harry's going to move away from being a detective to being just the stories are going to transition into other wizardly things. That said, I think I mentioned that Grave Peril was kind of slow for me. I also mentioned that the previous book I reviewed, Gnome's Engine, took me about a week and a half to 2 weeks to read. This book is about 150 pages longer than Gnome's Engine, and I read it in 5 days. So this book really pulled me in. I haven't read it probably since before. I do mention I reread a lot of my stuff. And usually when the Dresden Files come out, I will like read through the series to prepare myself for the next book that comes out. And that is kind of why I'm going back to reread these. So, not having read this book definitely since before COVID. Yeah, definitely not. It's been at least 6 years since I read this, and probably more like 10. So yeah, this book really pulled me in. Even though I kind of knew it was going to happen, I really just couldn't put the book down. I just devoured it. Having said that, I do want to mention one of the problems I have with the series in itself. And again, I cannot remember if I've mentioned it before. These books are all standalone novels, which means you don't necessarily need to read the previous book to understand it. But because Jim Butcher writes them that way, it means there's a lot of plot exposition. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this before. But it's becoming more noticeable as I'm reading these books closer together. That's the reason also that I'm putting other books between this and the Mercy Thompson books. Because similar problems, they do plot, they have to explain what happened. Harry has to explain his apartment, explain his office, his car, his relationships, how magic works. So there's a lot of plot exposition that's been in the first 3 books. All that plot exposition is also in this book, and will be in the next 10 books as well. So, I know, since starting this conversation, I remembered that I'd mentioned it, but it's starting to make itself felt to me. And the faster I read these books, the faster I go through them, the more I will feel that. And it is what makes it hard to burn through these books, because I know all this stuff already. I don't need to have Susan's relationship explained to him. I don't need to have his relationship with the Fae or Billy and the Werewolves. I don't have to have him, you know, I don't have to explain how he knows Billy and the other werewolves. I don't need to detail his car, his home. I don't need all those details. So as, you know, as a longtime reader, I don't need those details. I realize that if someone picked up the books in the middle of the series, they would. But I've rambled on this already for something I've already explained. So, I did enjoy this book more than Grave Peril, a lot more, and I think it's partly because of the introduction of the fairy courts, the winter and the summer fae. I know some of them will make a reappearance. I'm not sure exactly who, but it's nice to know that these characters are recurring. You know, Harry's fairy godmother is one of the one of the Fae of the Winter Court, one of the higher ranking members of the Winter Court, which we learn a bit more about in this book. And we kind of see them a bit more. I think that's one of the reasons that I really enjoyed this, is that Harry's relationship with his fairy godmother, Liana Shea, has been fraught with a lot of antagonism. Some of that is Harry's fault for reneging on his debts, which the Fae do not appreciate. But this book starts to give it more nuance, which I enjoyed. You know, the summer fae are not all good, the winter fae are not all evil. You know, there's depth there that this book takes a bit of time to explore. We also see another character come back, which we have not previously met, but has been spoken about. I will not give away their name. We also see a reappearance of Toot Toot, the pixie that Harry summoned in previous books. Little pixie who has a massive fondness for pizza, which I also enjoy. So, book 4, Harry Dresden Files. It's a good one. Probably, yeah, definitely like it more than the third one. I'm gonna have to get back and read the other books of the series, which I plan on doing. But yeah, this is one of the better books of the initial early part of the series. I really did enjoy this book, in my opinion. So, having said all that, as always, thanks for watching. As always, my stuff is crap. And until next time, good hunting.